this movie for the longest time because I thought the technology is not yet there. And then I saw some footage, which I said, wait a moment, I think now it's possible. And what we did, and what was really necessary, we had 1 year of development before we even could do anything.
What's cool about Roland's movies is that he likes to do these really hard visual effect shots. You get up to like 600.
What I wanted to do is a movie like no other movie ever seen.
We have wonderful, huge woolly mammoths. We have a saber-toothed tiger that we haven't seen in quite some time.
It's beautiful and grand because no one's ever seen these animals before. People are going to really be transported to that time and place.
We really have 6 different kinds of looks for the film as the characters travel from their native land over the mountains into this lost valley and then to the place where they eventually find the people that have been stolen by the slave raiders. We chose to shoot the entire film on location in order to have real backgrounds and real terrain that we were shooting the film in, as opposed to creating backgrounds with the computer.
We assume that in 10,000 BC the climate was different. It was the end of the Ice Age. You know, the mountains were colder. The climate was wetter down below because it was warming up and a lot of water was flowing.
In the opening part where we're introducing the audience to the mammoth hunters, what Roland was looking for when we were location scouting, he said, I want something that's mountainous, that has really unusual archaic rock forms, that's treeless. And when we were doing our helicopter scout in New Zealand, it was just extraordinary because we found exactly what he had pitched.
The mammoth hunt sequence was the first up for us. He opens up the movies and he establishes the mammoth hunter tribe.
It's always hard when you're working with elements in a film that you can't see when you're filming.
All that I had was a long wooden stick, which showed the height of a normal mammoth, a rearing up mammoth, a smaller mammoth, and actors who had to act with nothing.
That's why I'm just at Video Village constantly. I'm kind of then whispering, saying, you know what, he's not ducking low enough for long enough. The mammoth's 9 feet wide. He's got to stay down.
Interacting with a mammoth obviously presents its own set of challenges. It's a unique chance to use your imagination.
Well, we pretty much designed the mammoths how they looked. We created an old bull, a young bull, babies. I mean, there's a whole lot of work done to make this look like a real herd.
I actually went down to Tala Game Reserve with a team. We had a couple of HD cameras, and we shot elephants, tigers, all kinds of cats, have them run, roar, really whatever we can get.
I'm an animator on 10,000 BC. Basically, my job is to bring mammoths to life. This is just to get some reference of general elephant behavior. You can really get a feel for what the characters are.
Elephants don't gallop. Our mammoths gallop. What do you start with?
No animal this size can gallop, so I've got to figure out, looking at reference footage, exactly what it might look like, and trying to make a mishmash of different creatures to make a one-run cycle for a mammoth. And you just got all the controls. You can move the legs around, you can really control the hips, and it's so easy to just push this thing to the limit. You can have this character contort into just any kind of position. You've got so much control over where every single foot plant is. I can just really finesse every single little bit of toe motion, because you've got all these controls that you can just add and add to, try to get something that looks great. And you'll be doing this while you're looking at reference at the same time. By going through, like, frame by frame, I create the motion of weight and speed. From there, you can experiment and have them run sideways, or go from a walk to a run, and peel off to a turn, maybe, like, bump into other characters.
When they're stampeding, it's a mix of fast walks, runs, and full-on gallops. And outside of animation reference, it became also textural reference. Just getting close-ups of the feet of the elephant, or the way the tusk and the ears looked.
The mammoth, I think, probably the best analogy is what buffalo would have been to American Indians.
They honor it, they pray to it. After they killed it, they feel blessed. So it's a very natural, hunter-animal relationship. Later in the movie, they get enslaved as beasts of burden and workers in the pyramids.
Today we're in Cape Town at Table Mountain Studios, named for the beautiful mountain behind us, which is the centerpiece of the city.
We found this valley, and we could build our jungle there.
It took months and months to create and build this set. Some of it's planted, some of it's, built and, fabricated out of all different kinds of elements. It was an expensive set to make, and I think it's one of the highlights as far as some of the backgrounds that we've actually created. What we're shooting here at the studio is a scene where Camilla Bell and Stephen Strait are trapped by terror birds.
Actually, the last of the terror birds died out 7000 BC, but it was in South America. We kind of say in the movie, there's this pocket we call the Lost Valley, and there's just magically this like last flock of terror birds existed. We used them a little bit more like sharks, where they come out of the grass and disappear again. It's very scary.
The terror bird is just in there. He's just a cool factor.
The birds had to interact with the actors, and you can only do this when you have something. So we had like blue men fighting with blue heads, you know, and they were the terror birds. It's actually worked quite well. Because the actor, when he fights one, he fights with something.
It's kind of interesting with big men and wearing blue suits, kind of poking them in off and on. It's been a bit insane. We're kind of just silly, but just laughing the whole time.
Getting chased and avoiding these massive ostrich-like animals has been fun and almost humorous to a point.
The challenge for us on this show is trying to push the technology a little farther. Photorealism is really our goal.
Photoreal, you know, when we use that term, it means that if anybody in the audience, if they're taken out of the film for a moment because the eyes just don't have that glimmer of life in them, or something about the lighting or the animation, if an audience member is taken out, we failed in photorealism. This is the shot as it was previs. We did it as a real down angle shot. Ended up shooting it more of a side angle. Did the animation. And now starting to put in the real terror bird. It's interesting now trying to fit the terror birds in between the bamboo. We paint out bamboo where it doesn't work, and we put in CG bamboo for him to interact with if we need a slightly wider spot. Ultimately, you'll see the bamboo trees will be shaking, leaves will be falling.
A saber-toothed tiger that we haven't seen in quite some time.
There certainly is a respect between hunters that comes to fruition inside of that scene.
Do not eat me when I set you free.
The saber-tooth has a very powerful role in the film in terms of communicating our central character's role in the prophecy of the movie. And as such, he has a very intimate relationship with our lead character, specifically when they're in the trap.
And there's the first time he acts not as a hunter. He acts as a more modern man.
That's gonna be cool. Things right off the bat that hit me would be the hardest in the whole movie was the tiger. Anytime you're gonna go close up on a creature, because he has to have emotion and you stare at him and everybody knows what a tiger looks like. And that was the first scariest part. And then the next part was the tiger in the water. Those are still the hardest shots that we have. It's even harder than Day After Tomorrow.
It was interesting to play such a complicated and intense relationship with a giant blue tiger.
We had a cutout of a saber-toothed tiger in real size, in blue, which helped us a lot to frame the shot.
We always like to start with some base of reality. We go online and go get books and get everybody's version of an illustration of what they think a saber-toothed tiger looked like. From there, we say, okay, this is what people say he looks like, but now let's make something cooler. This was in Cape Town, and it was in a tank. That pit was miserable to shoot in. That's a real dead antelope there. Belay's passed out, finds out, hey, what's going on? And oh good, there's vultures next to me. And then he doesn't realize there's a tiger in there yet. And this is the final.
Right now we're in Namibia, in the middle of the desert.
Spitzkoppe is the place very, very dear to my heart because Stanley Kubrick shot the background plates for the ape sequence in 2001. It's a magical place.
We've gone from one extreme to the next. We went from blizzards and snowstorms to the tropical jungle in Cape Town and now to the desert, which has been absolutely amazing.
For the pyramids, they found two French architects who 2 or 3 years ago released a book where they found a new theory how the pyramids were built. We even involved them a little bit, in the movie. So there was a lot of accuracy in that. but the overall story takes its liberty.
The thing about movies is that you want them to be real, but sometimes real isn't necessarily entertaining. So it's a very fine line between what might have existed and at the same time what feels right for the character in the story.
Normally you would probably today do this all in the computer, but there is something not right about that. Because throughout the movie, we always used helicopter shots to give the movie size, and when you have to do like kind of helicopter movements in the computer, there's always like something unreal about it. Then I one night had like this idea and said, why we don't build a big model, have a spider cam, which is a 3-cable system, which in a weird way makes same movements like a helicopter. And you can use real different light situation with real sand dunes in the background as the basic element for a shot, and it worked really, really well.
Everything here is 1/24 scale, makes a human like 6 or 7 centimeters high. The miniature is roughly 100 by 100 meter of actually miniature covered area. It took us a little bit over half a year to actually build all the parts and construct them. I think there was around about 70, 75 people involved. It's the entire pyramid construction site. Of course, we'll be enhancing that later digitally with crowds and all the little things that bring it to life.
It's all about the lighting. The thinking was if we build the miniature and shoot it at the same time of day that the practical sets are shot, then we've got natural lighting. The CG artists know exactly what the true lighting that they have to match to. And it worked out great.
It's a pretty extraordinary thing. We think it actually might be one of the biggest models ever built.
There's a magic to models. A model you can put outside here and it's lit by the sun and it looks real.
They just went wild, just shooting all kinds of variations. I mean, once you're there, you just go to town on this thing because it's once in a lifetime to build a set of this size out in the middle of the Namibian desert.
I'm very, very proud of the last sequence because it really combines old-fashioned models with super high technology in a great way. I was wondering why nobody ever tackled the subject matter, because I think it's fascinating to have man and beast in the same time.
Roland's making this movie for everyone, and when you see the creatures that exist and the action and the adventure that exists, it's really a very, very special movie.
It's great working with Roland, and what I like about it, he's just absolutely fearless about it. I always tease him that he's a closet visual effects supervisor because he wants the biggest, baddest shots, and that's great because it pushes me and it pushes all the artists that are working on this show to really have to raise the bar each time.
I think that's what really movies should be about, that you experience something else, something that brings you to another world.